Buenas noches, gente. Buenas noches a este episodio número 14 de Protagonistas del cómic. Es increíble que llegamos al episodio número 14. Estamos a 1 del 15 y a 6 de los 20 protagonistas. Es increíble esto, la verdad que yo no lo puedo creer. Por eso, sin dar muchas vueltas, voy a invitar acá al amigo Mario.
Y si vos no lo podés creer, Kyle, yo tampoco lo puedo creer, porque la verdad es un honor y un placer de estar en estas entrevistas comiqueras que le hacemos a los más grandes de todos los tiempos y de todo el mundo. La verdad que un orgullo para mí, y la verdad compartirlo es tocar el cielo con las manos. Buenas noches a todos, sobre todo.
Sí. Buenas noches a la gente del chat, a Tex, a Fasma, a Lagus que está ahí haciendo. Muchísimas gracias por el apoyo. Hoy nos toca también hablar en inglés, como es habitual, cuando tenemos figuras internacionales. Así que vamos a empezar a hablar en inglés, muchachos. Tengan paciencia. Hola, Esteban. Vamos a hablar en inglés. So, we're going to speak in English. Sorry for our guest, for our English. It's the best we can do. So
sorry. So sorry.
Indeed. We're going to introduce our guest, the one and only, the talented Jonboy Meyers.
Mucho gusto.
Hey.
Welcome, Jonboy.
Thank you for having me. I wish I could speak. Is it Portuguese there, or is it?
No. It's Spanish.
Spanish. Oh yeah, I poquito español. So very poquito. So, but thank you for having me. I'm very thrilled to be here with you, Mario and Kyle. Thank you again for taking time out of your schedules to talk with me. So,
thank you.
The pleasure is always ours to speak with, I don't know, talented artists like you and the other guests we have in these interviews, because it's, like I always say, it's very difficult to us in Argentina to have the chance to speak with artists like you, like, I don't know, Jorge Jimenez, that we had the chance to speak, and it's like a dream come true for us. It's like having you there speak about comics.
It's my pleasure. It's always good to sit down with other fans and talk about comics, because regardless of whatever job we do, it's really irrelevant. It's just it's good to come together with our mutual admiration for things like whether it's comic art or comic books or stories or film or whatever, and that's something that I'm really passionate about. So I'm always happy to talk about that. That's something I'm always excited to discuss. So,
Jonboy, this is your first interview here in Argentina?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I talk to everybody, people all over the world, and it's kind of hard to keep track who lives where. But it's just always good to connect with people, and I'm glad that American comics can still make their way towards Argentina. I didn't know that it was such a strong market down there, because I have no idea. So
we have a lot of fans here, and here in Argentina we have a tremendous artists. They did a lot of things, but their work was evaluated in Europe, because the styles and the stories are similar, like the European comics.
Yeah.
Not from American. Someone, yes, but the others, no. It's more Europe, European style.
Yeah, I think more Europeans are actually moving into the American market, and especially the Italians, who are amazing talent. Like, all these guys are, like, you talk about you know, like Jorge is amazing artist. He's not Italian, but I mean, like the amount of guys coming in who are not from North America who are just crushing it in comics, you know, and taking everyone to school is pretty nice because it makes us work harder and up our game too, you know. And I think it's in the end, it's about doing the best art you possibly can do and getting pushed by your peers to do better, you know. I think is always a great thing, and it's kind of nice to see talent just come out of nowhere, you know. It's just like, whoa, where are these guys from? Where did this guy come from, you know? And it's just pretty amazing. So
did you read something from Argentina? You have some.
You know, I pick up a lot of books mainly for the art. I don't know what artist is from where. I think there's certain artists that I'm fans of, like the late great Carlos Meglia. Carlos Meglia. Yeah. I don't know. I think is he Brazilian though, or is he Spanish, or is he Mexican? I have no idea. So, a lot of the Brazilian artists like Fabio Laguna, Mike Deodato, gosh, who am I missing? Roger Cruz, the late great Robson Roca, you know, who just passed. Yeah, great, amazing, talented artists. So there's so many. I think regardless of where talent comes from, talent is just amazing talent. But I just think it's kind of nice to have people that are kind of like closer to home that you guys can talk to and connect with, because comics are such a global thing. It's not really a North American thing. Comics have been around since print and newspaper. So, and it's something that, you know, the idea of telling, you know, stories with pictures and words is something that's been around since, you know, hieroglyphics or longer. So I think it's just I'm glad that we can always just connect on those levels of, like, you know, even though I don't speak the language, whatever language it's in, I can always look at the art and appreciate it. Like Demon Slayer is something that I'm a huge fan of, but some of the first manga that I looked at, there were the Japanese versions. I couldn't really read what was going on, but through the art, I knew that, wow, this is something really awesome and really amazing. So,
what mangas have you read?
So I started out very, very early on with Bubblegum Crisis and Rama 1/2.
Rama 1/2.
Yeah.
My girlfriend is a huge fan of Rama 1/2.
Oh yeah, like it's been around since I think the early '80s, late '70s.
Yeah,
Takashi is amazing, and she's still crushing it. So it's amazing to see how long like manga has been just going and going and going, and there's no stopping. And I think that was stuff that was really, like, I was exposed to early on, was that Bubblegum Crisis, the Sedona stuff, like Writing Bean that he did and things like that. And then like the anime, I grew into anime, like Ninja Scroll was something that was really big with me. And then later on, now it's the Studio Trigger stuff, and now the UFO table stuff with Demon Slayer is stuff that I just can't get enough of. So I'm not, which surprisingly, I'm not a big Studio Ghibli fan, which I know that's like, but like, I mean, that stuff is more like classical. The stories are very classic and timeless, and I'm more interested in like the more action in your face, like crazy wild stuff like Studio Trigger and UFO Table does. But you know, I think it's different strokes for different folks. I still appreciate the art and have a love and respect for it. I think it's just whatever we gravitate towards, you know, because like comics are all over the place too. You know, you have horror comics and superhero comics and westerns and you know, it's all over the place. So something for everybody.
And what about sci-fi mangas?
I like, you know, I'm not. So I think the sci-fi manga, like you have things that like are like Cobra or even Captain Harlock, which I like. Captain Harlock. Even Cowboy Bebop is kind of sci-fi, but the thing about, that's what I like about manga is like it takes two genres and always kind of merges them together. So like even Vampire Hunter D is a horror western sci-fi kind of thing. Like, you know, like if you watch Vampire Hunter D, it's very much that way. So it's, I like kind of doing things that are kind of mix mashes of genre, because like sometimes when you collapse everything into one genre like a Western, people don't really, they kind of tune out. They won't pick it up. But you do a Western that's kind of has a sci-fi feel to it or incorporates sci-fi elements, then it kind of opens it up to people. People are a little more open to checking it out, which is kind of weird to me because, like, for me, I'm a kind of a fan of everything, you know, like good work is good work, you know, and it's just what resonates with you as a person, I think, is more important, you know.
I'm curious, why didn't you mention Dragon Ball, for example?
I am not a big Dragon Ball Z fan. I know. So I'm more of a Pokemon fan than Dragon Ball Z, but I know. I'm sorry. Like, I do like Dragon Ball Z.
My heart aches.
I know. Like, I have an appreciation for all that, but it's just, I think for me, you have to watch Dragon Ball Z from the beginning to really understand everything that's going on. And I think if you just jump, it's like watching Robotech. If you just jump right in, you know,
we love it. We love it.
I love it too. But if you jump right into it, it's really hard to, like, wait a minute, what's going on? What happened here? Who are these characters?
You know, Jonboy, here, Robotech and Macross are the biggest manga shows.
Really? Wow.
Here in the 80s when we do, like, Kyle and I were
sorry, Mario, Robotech and Mazinger's C.
And Mazinger.
Oh yes, yeah, that's great. Oh yes,
Mazinger.
Yeah.
So when we were very, very, very young, that sagas were huge here. They have a lot of fandom here in our country, right?
Yeah, I think the same time then in the 80s, while it showed up for you guys, that's when we were getting it from Japan at the same time. And I was fortunate enough early on to actually be able to watch it from episode 1 on and have a huge love and appreciation for it, because it's kind of like a big soap opera set with robots and aliens. And it's like, oh. So it was something completely different. Whereas, like, you know, at the same time we had G.I. Joe and Transformers, which is pretty much like it's on Earth. They're fighting, you know, things are a little bit more clear cut, where it's like Robotech actually was a much more mature theme type of show. You can appreciate it at any age because you can actually understand what was going on. And it was one of those shows where if you kind of understood it as a young person, even as a kid, you kind of felt like, oh, well, you're smart because you can kind of understand what's going on. It's like grown-up stuff. You're watching a grown-up cartoon, you know? And then, like, for me, my mind was blown when I watched Ninja Scroll, because it was like the level of violence and blood and, like, graphic. You know, my 13-year-old brain could not contain it, because I was just like, what am I watching? It's like, oh, this is amazing. It's like, oh, wow. You know, so it was pretty cool. Like, I was pretty excited. Like, for me, I just wanted to draw Ninja Scroll all the time. So, yeah.
So now you mentioned anime. That's one of your influences for your art style. What other artists from the American market, European, are your influence your style?
I think it's all those American artists who are actually influenced by manga themselves. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Golden. He drew Batman and things like he drew Micronauts, and the characters had really big eyes and things like that. It was Michael Golden, Arthur Adams, J. Scott Campbell, Jason Pearson, and Joe Madureira were kind of my key guys growing up, who had a huge impact on me, because at that same time I kind of discovered anime in a really big way with Ninja Scroll, and it just got me drawing again and excited about art. And these guys kind of had that same type of feel to their work, very kinetic, you know, lots of movement, very big splashes and big eyes and beautiful women and all this, you know, just their art really spoke to me, and that was something that got me excited. So, and these guys still are like huge influences on my work even today. It's like, you know, everything I do, I always kind of hold up to the benchmark of like, hey, you know, is the work I'm doing is it able to stand next to what they're doing in some way or form, or come close to it? You know, like they're here and I'm like maybe here. I'm like, okay, like I'm getting close. Like I'm getting, you know, I think we always want to be as good as or close to the same level as people who inspire us, you know, because that's what gets you excited. You know what I mean? It's like you want to be as good as the people who you consider masters at their craft. You know, these are these things that we aspire to become like or grow past, you know. I think, at least for me, that's what kind of gets me going and gets me excited, you know, about art, is trying to get better and better and do and stretch and grow and be as good as my favorite artists, you know, and be that inspiration for somebody else. I think is always
talking about childhood.
Yeah.
Here in Argentina, we grew up with Kyle and our generation grew up with DC comics. Not much Marvel.
Oh,
And
right.
but in the States, Marvel and DC were in the same level. So I want to ask you this question. I hope you can answer me that. What you prefer in those days, Marvel comics or DC comics?
Man, that's so tough.
Tough, right? I'm sorry. It's mom or dad. Sorry.
Right. Well, I like both parents. Like for me, it wasn't about the companies, it was about the characters.
Yeah.
For me, like I loved Captain America because he was my first superhero I ever was introduced to. And then Batman is my kind of like second favorite. Because it's Batman, you know, Batman's really cool. It was those two characters that always made a huge impression on me growing up, because I wasn't too big into like larger than life characters. I like Superman, but like Captain America and Batman are things that I felt like if I wanted to become a superhero, I could work and become like that. That's attainable. Like, I could be Batman or Captain America. I couldn't be Superman because I don't have powers. So yeah, it was I think you kind of resonate with those characters a little bit too. And you know, for me, I was always bullied as a kid, so being able to have like kung fu skills to beat people up was always kind of like a fantasy that you played in the back of your head, where you can beat up the people who are beating up you. So yeah, but it was more about the characters, not about companies. But I think the first comic books that I actually owned were actually DC comics. My dad would bring them home, and they were mostly war comics. Were my first comic books that I ever got introduced to. And then after horror, like DC, and then Whitman comics, if you remember Whitman. You remember Whitman? Yeah. So, but Whitman was always hit or miss because they were like cartoon comics like Daffy Duck or Mickey Mouse. And I was just like, these are for kids. I'm not a kid. You know, I liked like the war comics where people were getting blown apart. And then I discovered superhero comics, and it just totally like changed everything for me. You know, because then that's when I really started drawing my own comic books and drawing the images that I saw in comics I liked, you know, and it kind of what started me down my path of becoming a storyteller and a comic artist. So it's kind of strange, the things that impact us so much as kids, or things that our parents share with us that imprint on us so hard that, you know, we grow into that later on, you know, whether it's collecting action figures, it's expressing our love of that from growing up to connecting with our childhood, or actually working in that industry, like working in animation or comics or film or TV or whatever. You know, it's quite interesting what fandom, that seed of fandom does once it kind of takes root in you. So you start a podcast, look like it's crazy. Yeah.
And speaking of childhood, before we get into the mainstream comic books like Image and DC Comics and Marvel, I read that you got involved into a project into a company called MV Creations.
Yes.
With the Master of the Universe.
Yes, we did all the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe stuff. Yes, we did that for about, I think the company did it for about almost 2.5, maybe 3 years. And I know there's a big resurgence now with the Masters of the Universe a cartoon coming out, and then the She-Ra cartoon, both are on Netflix. Yeah, I was a marketing director for that for about a year and a half, and I did a lot of art stuff too. We wore many hats there because there wasn't a very big studio. Just doing what we needed to do to try to keep the lights on. But those are my like guerrilla comics days where we just were like all in and all about comics, and we were just working, 12, 14-hour days just put out comics and do stuff, yeah, wow, man, a long time ago. You did your homework.
Because here in Argentina, the Master of the Universe is huge, is a huge success and has had a huge impact on our childhood.
Really?
We are huge fans here in Argentina, Master of the Universe.
I have to tell you something. I'm here in Argentina. My job is I'm a journalist. So they give me the preview of the Master of the Universe. Sorry.
That's cool.
And today.
That's not fair, Mario. That's not fair.
It's not fair. But when I start watching the episodes, I said, "Oh my God, they did the same things and better, much better than the original Filmation cartoon."
What about the Mike Young ones? Were those pretty good too, or have you seen those ones?
Well, we were from another age, in other times.
Mm-hmm.
So we connected with other things. Girls go out. Sorry.
No. So was the new series muy bueno, or like?
Yes. Of course. No.
Was it good? Yes. No.
Yes.
No.
But
totally.
But it's connected with the 80s series.
Yes, the Filmation. It's connected with
the Filmation series.
Great with the Filmation series.
So it connects to the old series. Interesting. Okay. Wow. That's...
I want to teach you something. Just a little thing.
Yeah. Tell me.
When you watch the first episode, it's like an action figure catalog. So I want this, and this. So prepare yourself with Master of the Universe.
Yeah, I know all the people at NB Creations are probably losing their minds because those guys are Val Staples and Matt Tyree and Leanne Hanna, who were also my colleagues there. Loved Masters of the Universe, so they're probably losing it right now. Like, hey, man's back! Oh my God! So I take it you guys are more He-Man fans than Thundercats, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm speaking for myself.
Me too. But Thundercats, it's another franchise that here in Argentina was very huge.
I think 80s, amazing cartoons. It was just like, man.
Of course.
Yeah.
So I remember some of the superpowers.
I remember that too. I love that.
The Galactic Guardians with the Kenner action figures.
I had the toys, man. I was like, I had to though because they were all superheroes. Silverhawks was great too. Yes.
Yeah, Silverhawks.
Silverhawks was awesome.
Silverhawks. Yeah. They're doing the new series also on Netflix.
I hope they do Tiger Sharks. I remember watching a couple episodes of that. Tiger Sharks was so cool. I thought it was cooler than anything, but then they didn't do anything with it.
One of my favorites here too in Argentina was G.I. Joe.
I love G.I. Joe. Yeah.
G.I. Joe.
That
was amazing.
Yeah, it was, and I loved how no one ever died. Like you'd shoot people out of helicopters, they parachute out just in time. It was just like, I loved G.I. Joe. Like Snake Eyes, of course, and Storm Shadow were my favorites, of course, the ninjas. So, but I am looking forward to the new G.I. Joe movie reboot. I hope it's good. I'm hoping it's good because it's just like.
Retaliation. Did you enjoy Retaliation?
I loved Retaliation. I thought that they should have just remade it with The Rock and rebooted it with The Rock and kept that going. Because like, if you do The Rock, like put The Rock in a movie with like Snake Eyes and make that a thing, it would have been a lot cooler instead of they just kind of, you know, it's just like, let the first G.I. Joe die. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
'cause-
I saw one of your artworks with G.I. Joe and with Broadblock, of course.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Broadblock, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's older work. You know, it's probably about like, I think, man, it's at
We
least
got
15 years old now. But yeah, it's
we got some layer work from Snake Eyes that
Oh,
you did.
yes.
So if you don't mind,
yeah,
when I
yeah.
share screen,
And it's another. I think that the Commandos League of the of GI Joes. I enjoy Flint. I don't know.
Flint and Lady J. Yes.
Flint J or I don't remember the Sergeant. Oh
Yeah,
no,
dude.
Sergeant. No, Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh, Sergeant Slaughter. Yes.
No, Sergeant Slaughter. So, oh no, I don't remember. Oh,
For me,
the blonde one. I remember.
blonde. Oh, that's Duke. That's Duke.
Duke,
Right,
Duke,
Hauser.
Sergeant.
Right, Duke.
Duke Hauser.
I like the
Duke.
classic guys with like my favorite line. I saw my geek out here. So my favorite G.I. Joe lineup is it's Duke, Scarlet, Flint, Lady J, Roadblock, Lowlight, Snake Eyes, Stalker, and then maybe if I had to throw another one like Quick Kick and Alpine and Bazooka were my
Quick
like
Kick.
my favorite.
Yes,
It's like 11. Like that was my like. So when I would play G.I. Joes with my G.I. Joe, those are my that's my main team. You know, we go out and do stuff. So yeah, everything is better. It's great, right? So, and who doesn't like The Rock? The guy is so awesome. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was like G.I. Joe was one of those things that was hugely impactful on me too. Because like I think with comics and anime and animation also played a big part of my art journey, and I've been really fortunate to actually work on just about every major cartoon franchise I was you know, like in love with. Like the only two I haven't worked on, I think, are Transformers and Thundercats. So those are probably the two on my bucket list somewhere down the line that I want to do something for. But I don't know if anybody's ever going to do another Thundercats thing. So I don't know.
Maybe Thundercats Roar.
I think they canceled that. They canceled that. So that's done. So I don't know. I don't know.
Even the Teen Titans Go did a parody of the show. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Of Thundercats Roar, they did one.
Yeah, they did one with the Thundercats Roar, and then comes Leono from the older series. That's the one that we want to see. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Oh man, that's
those cartoons of Teen Titans Go are huge and amazing, and it's also for us, not for the kids, not for my daughter, for all of us.
Yeah, I like Teen Titans Go because there's adult humor in there that we will get, but then the kids won't get. But there's things that kids will understand that it's like, you know, it's really cool. But do you guys have Rick and Morty in Argentina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like Rick and Morty. It's pretty not for kids. Not for kids.
Nah, not for kids.
Not for kids, but yeah, pretty funny. So.
Well, recently we got the chance to have for the first time HBO Max that we're gonna have the chance to watch the next season from Rick and Morty. So
good. Yeah.
It was I think it premiered HBO Max premiered here in July.
August.
Oh no, is it Si habla español in español? Is it all in Spanish? Can you guys, or is it English?
we watch it in English with subtitles.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay.
Or you can change
You can change the language.
you can change it. So
Right. Are the voice actors pretty good in Rick and Morty for Spanish? Is it pretty good?
I prefer.
I like it. I like it. I like
prefer
it.
English.
Okay.
I like
Not the Simpsons. The Simpsons here. I know this is off topic, but
it. Yeah, of
talking
course.
about
Talking
talking about the dubbing actors, we prefer here in Argentina the Latin American version of the voices. They're spectacular.
I bet you they are, because I mean it's what you've grown up with. We've had Simpsons now for about 25 years, which is I think 25, something like that, 20, 25. So it's kind of like growing up with a really good friend that you've watched day after day after day, that you kind of know these characters and who they are. But I think that's what's so great about pop culture and fandom too. It's kind of like you kind of, as these shows grow, you kind of grow along with it, you know, and things are comfortable and familiar. I haven't watched Simpsons though, and like, man, I think the last Simpsons I watched was Treehouse of Horror, like maybe 5 years ago. But I guess I need to pick it up again because now Disney owns Fox and owns The Simpsons and Family Guy, which I can't understand, but that's So
Jonboy, here in Argentina, The Simpsons are so popular that they do the reruns every Saturday, all afternoon long.
wow,
From 1 to 6 or 7 p.m.
I could get with that because I love watching reruns. I think the older ones are a lot better. You got away with a lot more stuff back then than you do now.
I'm speaking for myself, but I love from season 1 to season 9.
Yeah, it's the best.
It's the best creative thing they did.
Yeah, I agree. Like the earlier stuff, the better. I mean, the writing I think was a lot better because you had to try a lot harder to get laughs because people weren't familiar with the characters. But I think some of my favorite episodes are still the Treehouse of Horror episodes. Those are always very creative. And then the Sideshow Bob episodes are always good too, though. Or which was some of my favorite.
With Cape Fear.
Yes,
Cape Fear.
And I don't know if people understand what Cape Fear was in Argentina, but maybe you guys do. But it's just like these parallels that the Simpsons make.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know if you guys understand this, but like Simpsons can kind of like tell the future. There's so many things that happen in the Simpsons that they predicted that are happening now, which is so weird. Which kind of makes you wonder, like, what's next? What are they going to talk about? What are they
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, is Disney going to own, DC Comics in the future or Warner Brothers? Who knows? But
maybe.
Maybe.
Nowadays.
Maybe. So.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows, right? So,
Who knows? Disney is a huge empire. Huge empire.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how everything's getting all these smaller entities are getting gobbled up by bigger ones. So it's going to be. It's like mega corporations. It's really the future is happening. It's really strange.
It's incredible. What Disney is doing today is it's incredible and it's unstoppable. How do you stop this empire of huge content
Marvel
and diverse content? Because you got a lot of content from Star Wars to Marvel superheroes. It's everything. For me, it's everything except DC.
Yeah,
I love.
Yeah, like DC's got to figure it out. But I think my thing that always worries me is that it's owned by these huge corporations that kind of dictate what content goes into what show and what you can and can't do. I'm more partial with like, hey, those people who do The Mandalorian, just let them do what they want. They get it. They understand it. You don't have to mess with the show. Just leave them alone.
Don't screw it up.
Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy, leave them alone. Let them do their thing. They get it. They understand it. You know, just let them do their thing. The only thing you need to do is get Sebastian Stan to play Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian. That's your job. That's all you need to do, and everything will be okay. And you just sit back and watch the money roll in, and everyone will be happy, and it's okay.
And Jonboy, what about the Marvel TV series? Like
I don't own Disney Plus because I've got HBO Max, I've got Netflix, I've got Amazon, I've got there's so many things now. It's just like I can't just. My wife would be like, "Why are we throwing like $20 away every month for Disney Plus?" I don't understand. Because you just want to watch a couple of shows, and I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah.
She's like, "No." It's like, for me, at some point I have to get some work done, because if not, I'm never going to get any work. I'll be always watching TV. But I've never watched The Mandalorian yet. I love the concept. I love everything about it. I've read all the spoilers, all the reviews, and everything that's going on. So I'm in the know of what's going on, but I just don't. Yeah, it's like I haven't watched.
I did the same, Jonboy.
Yeah,
I did
no.
Yeah, it just like I can't, But I love the idea of these shows. I'm glad they exist. I just wish I'm waiting for them to get collected so I can just buy the collected series and watch it anytime I want. Just binge it one day, like. Sit on the couch in my underwear eating potato chips and just watch the whole thing all the way through. Like, okay, I've watched Captain America and Winter Soldier, done. Or Falcon and Winter Soldier, whatever it's called. I've watched Mandalorian, done. I've watched Loki, done. I've watched Scarlet Vision, done. WandaVision's done. Cool, perfect. Bring on the next one, which is, I think, Hawkeye and then Moon Knight and She-Hulk, I think.
Yeah, She-Hulk. And the animated one, the What If.
Oh, the What If. That one actually looks really, really good too. I have friends who work on that, so they're like, "Oh, you gotta watch it. It's so good." I'm just like, I'm never gonna get it again, So,
I'm never gonna.
Yeah, Suicide Squad's coming to HBO Max. I mean, like when the Snyder Cut came out, I watched it like twice in a row. That's like almost 7 hours of your life gone. So that's a whole day of production gone.
So you love it?
Yeah, I love Snyder Cut. Yeah, totally. I'm more for like creator visions of things, because I think in this world of execs now understanding what a multiverse is, and that you can have multiple Batman movies out at the same time, and it's okay, it's Batman, it will make you money, just chill out, right? The idea of these things existing in their own space is totally fine. I mean, I think the biggest gripe that people are having right now is like, even The Rock was saying, is like he wanted Black Adam to be in the Snyderverse, and they're telling him no. So, it's like, oh, I guess the Snyderverse just kind of dies with Justice League, Which,
now they are doing an official sequel, motion comic for a charity event that they are running later this year, that they continue the story in a motion comic. And one of the artists that it's doing this motion comic with the storyboards that they show on the exhibit, it's Argentinian.
Oh, wow. Who's drawing it? Do you know?
I know that Ray Porter is the one who's putting the voice relating the story.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like the idea of a motion comic, but it doesn't. Where's that HBO Max Batman Ben Affleck thing? You know what I mean? Like, I want that, because, like, for me, Ben Affleck did such a great job as Batman. Like, just let him be Batman. Like, let him do his Batman movie. Hey.
And Jonboy, what about when you saw the first picture of Michael Keaton returning to be Batman?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I wasn't like, oh, I'm a fan of the Keaton stuff, but I'm more of a fan of the Ben Affleck is my Batman kind of deal. But it's nice to see that the Flash Snyderverse thing is kind of coming to, because I think they're going to use a Flash movie to reboot everything. I think that's what's going to happen, where he's running through different timelines, and something's going to happen where it's going to reboot it. I think the only people who are going to survive that is Ezra Miller, probably Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, and Gal Gadot are the only ones that are going to be like surviving. Everyone else is going to get recast, which is
Shazam.
Well, it's Shazam. Sorry, yes, it's Shazam. They're going to make it. Everyone else, like, I don't think Cavill is going to be back. I don't think Affleck's going to be back, which is kind of sad because I was just watching Man of Steel the other day, and it's such a brilliant movie, and it's just
amazing.
People just don't like. I don't know. I don't know what people were thinking when there was kind of like dogging on that movie. It's such a great movie, and it works on so many levels. It's Superman is such a hard character to tackle in today's world, because how do you not be swayed by social pressure to conform, to do something, or can you actually do something you really want to do and not, cave to the demands of Twitter?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
It's pretty unique, and I think they did a really good job. But I'm pretty sad to see that not continue. Like the fact that Man of Steel 2 is not happening is pretty sad to me. So,
yeah, for me, Man of Steel is the best Snyderverse movie.
Yeah,
the best Snyderverse by far.
Yeah.
I really loved the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman.
I do too. Yeah,
but Man of Steel has a huge heart on it. Has a huge heart.
Yeah, like the Superman is definitely the moral center of the Snyderverse, and I think their mistake with Ultimate Batman, like Batman v Superman, was making Batman too polarized. I think because I can understand where they're like setting up where Batman's so pissed at Superman, but bigger picture, like, hey, look, like the guy threw his only people and banished them to the Phantom Zone. Like, he lost his entire race, and he chose Earth over them. So it's like, come on, man. Like, the guy
and I enjoyed that movie because they put a different villain, because when you watch the Superman movies, every fucking movie is Lex Luthor as a villain. Lex Luthor as a villain. And when I saw the real main villain, I was thrilled.
Yeah, I was just glad Superman can actually punch somebody. There's like,
of course,
and, like, you get an idea of what a supervillain fight, Superman versus supervillain fight would look like. I mean, that's like kind of real world. You're like, wow. For me, if that ever happened, first thing I'd be doing, I'm like, I'm moving out of Gotham. I'm moving out of Metropolis. I am not living here. I'm going to move to Ohio, someplace where nothing happens. Like, I'm out. Like, but yeah, it's, I think for the Donner movies, I think even the Tim Burton movies, there was a certain innocent charm to those movies where the good guys and the bad guys were very black and white. There wasn't that many shades of gray per se. And I think as our society grows a little more wacko, things kind of blur together a little bit more, where it's okay for heroes to kill people. It's like, he killed somebody, but, he's Batman. He had to save the people. He had to save Martha, so.
Why did you say her name?
Right.
And what about the Joker movie?
Yeah, I like the Joker movie. They're actually talking about a sequel, which will be interesting in itself to see too. But that again is very real world grounded too, and that's a good thing about this thing. Well, it's like they're their own movies. It's a multiverse. It could be its own thing, and it's totally okay. You don't have to be a hardcore comics fan to like, that's not the you can't have your geek rage fist out. You know, it's okay. Like, these things could be its own thing and appreciate it. It's more about taking these characters and telling a compelling story with them, you know? Because, I mean, it's like, look, at the end of the day, it's just a movie or a comic or whatever. Like, yeah, you know what? You don't have to accept that as canon in your mind if you don't want to. Just move on to the next one. So, you know, give it like 6 issues and he'll be back to normal again. No biggie, you know. You know, there was a time when Captain America was a Nazi, and I was just like, dropping this book, I can't read it anymore. Like, I'm out. But when he came back, like, I picked it up again. When Sam became Captain America, I picked it up, loved it. You know, it was great. Made sense. I enjoyed the book. So it's just, I think you have choice. If there's things that you don't like, you don't have to watch or read. It's okay. Like, you know, you don't have to. Not everybody has to share your opinion of outrage or whatever. It's like, you know, it's who cares? Like, trying new things. It's like,
Jonboy, did you have a chance to work on Captain America?
No, actually, Batman and Captain America are the two characters I've never really officially worked on. So I've worked on things with them in it a little bit, but not and specifically. And it's kind of like, well, if it's not an official Batman book or Captain America book, it really doesn't count. So it's like, that's kind of on my bucket list. So I think if anybody dingled that and said, hey, we want you to do a cover for this, of course, I'd drop everything to do it. I'm like, yeah, of course, I'm all in. Or would you like to do a story or write or do whatever? Of course, like, yeah, I mean, that's, I think there's certain things that you always kind of want to do that are on your list to do. And when those certain projects come up, you kind of drop everything to do them because it's something. Because as a kid, I think you want to do things that connect with your childhood, you know. And those two characters really meant a lot to me, you know. Like, how I feel about those two characters is how you guys feel about He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. You know, it's like, hey, that's like, you know, that's my thing. That's my jam.
Do you have in mind a plot of Captain America or Batman or something?
I think Batman, I would probably, I like taking characters back to their core and grounding them a little bit. So if I were to do a Batman story, it would probably focus on his relationship to, like, Ra's al Ghul. Because I think Ra's al Ghul is kind of Ra's al Ghul is basically immortal. And the fact that Batman can beat somebody who's been around for hundreds of thousands of years is kind of laughable to me. I would probably do a story where Ra's al Ghul meets up with Batman again and tells him the truth, like, you know, Bruce, you know, you could never beat me. I let you beat me. And Bruce is like, no way. Like, he goes, no, I'm trying to love. Like, it would be more of like a story where he sees Bruce as a successor. So he's trying to build his confidence and level him up as a detective, as a fighter, as all these things. He's trying to help sharpen his skills. That's why he's doing all this stuff. I would do a story that's kind of centers around that, where it's like kind of like turns that relationship on its head a little bit and add a layer to these characters. Because, like, there's honestly, there's no way, like, in my mind, there's no way that anybody could beat guys like Vandal Savage or Ra's al Ghul. These guys have been around forever. The level of technology and knowledge that they have, and tactically thinking and skill set and fighting, there's no way. Come on, man. Like, dude, come on. You're fighting a grandmaster. There's no amount of training in the world. Like, your 10 or 15 years of totally dedicating yourself to somebody is not going to match someone's 100,000s of years of, like, crushing it and kicking ass. There's no way. There's no way. But, you know, it's a nice concept to do, you know. And I think for Captain America, I probably want to tell a story about Cap in his early days where he was struggling with his sense of idealism and understanding what it is meant to be a symbol to people, which in my mind would make him try to strive to be a better person, you know, in the decisions that he was making and the things that he was doing, because he knew he had a spotlight on himself, you know, and he knew that people was watching him, especially young kids, you know. So I would probably do a story like that, where it's more of his impact as a symbol to people and what that means to him, versus just him punching another Nazi in the face, which is great, by the way. Like, I never get tired of that, right? But you know, I think you got to get to characters at their core and what they're about and what they stand for, because anybody can do a story about a character punching another character. It's like, but that's like the equivalent of us playing with action figures as kids, like G.I. Joe, like, you know, I think when you add a layer onto that about who these characters are at their core and what makes them do what they do and what drives them and what their aspirations are and how they feel about these things, like that's something that kind of adds a layer onto the characters. I think that touches on a whole other cornerstone, I think. Because I think as creators, you know, when you grow up with characters, like it's like somebody giving you the opportunity to write or work on Masters of the Universe and saying, you know, as a fan, I want to do it justice, but there's some things lingering in my mind as a fan that I want to address that they never addressed. Like, does Tila really know Prince Adam and He-Man are the same? Does she prefer He-Man over Prince Adam, or does she look like it's just strictly platonic, or what are these relationships with these characters? Because you can do these stories that, as a fan, you know all the canon, you know the waters you can navigate, but say, look, I want to tell this from a different angle, and I want to shine a light on this thing now, and I want to build this out because there's this whole other part of the world that is just not He-Man's point of view, you know? It's just like, why does Merman work for Skeletor? He's king of an undersea kingdom. He's got a kingdom. He doesn't need to work for Skeletor. So there's a story there. Like maybe he's working with Skeletor because Skeletor is helping him clean up the oceans of Eternia. Because maybe King Randor has a dirty secret and they dump pollution into the oceans. I don't know.
I'm writing the plot.
It's all these things that you can ask yourself.
Just wait and see the series.
Right. Oh, I'm sure, right? Like, why does Merman, Warlord of the Ocean, need a partner with Skeletor?
Yeah,
he like owns his whole underwater kingdom. Like, why is like? I would like to know. I'm curious.
Perhaps he meets Aquaman or something.
Maybe
face Aquaman or Namor.
You know, so this is what would blow my mind is that they got Jason Momoa to play Namor in the Marvel Universe. So he's Aquaman in DC and Namor in the Marvel Universe. That would be so awesome. Just putting that out there, everybody.
For Jason Momoa would be awesome. It would be twice.
That would be awesome, man. That would honestly, like, my geek heart would be like, yes, make that happen. So. But anyway, I digress. So.
You mentioned Ra's al Ghul as a villain, and when you help relaunch the Teen Titans in the Rebirth era, you got the the sketches.
Oh, look at that.
So old. Oh, it's so old artwork. Don't look at the. So.
I really love this cover from with Damien and the Butrangs showing the reflex of teammates. It's an awesome artwork. And what was your original pitch for this idea, for this keep Titans team?
Well, the original pitch was. Gosh, man. So the original pitch was that they didn't really have anything. They said, okay, well, Damien's going to be the leader. They're going to bring all these characters together. We're going to fight. He's going to fight somebody. We don't know who. Hey, guys, come up with some ideas. And I think the writer had pitched a couple ideas, none of which really floated. Some of the other ones were actually really good, but DC didn't bite on it. So I pitched one because they had decided that Ra's al Ghul was the villain, or was going to be one of the main villains. He's not really in the book that much at all, but they were going to have their own Teen Titans team. And I had proposed originally, like my original pitch was, hey, you know, let's make the Red X the leader of this team, led by under Ra's al Ghul, and then he creates his own kind of like Teen Titans team to fight the Teen Titans, and I think one of the pitches was the Red X was actually supposed to be the real Damian, and the Damian that's in the Teen Titans that we've seen all along was supposed to be a clone of Damian. And they said no. And then they said no to Red X. So it was just like, so I said, well, let's make Red X a clone of Damian, and he's fighting himself. That would be great. They're like, no. So we end up with a character who I called Oni, who actually wore a helmet, and if you look over her eye, there's an X over her eye, so I still like, it's still Red X. I don't care what you say. In my own way, but then they changed it from Oni and they named her Mara Al Ghul, which didn't make any sense at all because the character is Arabic. So I was like, why don't you name it an Arabic name? But they never did that. So
I love that Aqualad. I love it.
Yeah, you know, it's too bad I didn't stick around to work on Aqualad, and I wasn't a big fan of the design they went with, but I mean, it's their book; they can do whatever they want. So, I'm really big on trying to make characters and not characters plot devices. So, and I think in Aqualad's arc, that's he ended up being like a treasure map, which is kind of like, dude, like, don't do that to him. Like, make him interesting. His dad wants to connect with him. His dad, you know, they made him his Black Manta wanted him because he's some treasure map to a big treasure or something. It's like, oh man, oh well, that's cool. Maybe next time.
What I really love of your designs was that you try to get back to the basis with the new Teen Titans.
Yeah.
For example, here in Beast Boy, you use the changeling colors instead of the Beast Boy colors that they change early in the series. Also, here Raven, you played a lot with the concept of the New 52 Raven turning into the original one.
Yeah, I didn't. So I'm a big fan of the George Perez, Marv Wolfman stuff, and for me that is the Titans, not the Nick Cardy previous incarnation one with Speedy.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do was important to me is like people have such a love for that, so let's let these costumes and their look be a reflection of that. Just modernize it, you know, because even Beast Boy, his colors, I even went with the purple and black as a nod to Doom Patrol, as Doom Patrol days. So
yeah.
But you know, I mean, I wanted to do something that is. I think when you're relaunching a series, you want to go back to where, hey, look, it should feel like a beloved run. It should have that look, the same feel, kind of, because you're invoking that. Then people are like, oh yeah, this is something that I love because they're paying homage to that look that we grew up with. You know, like. Books that were always important to me, it was really important to pay due respect to those runs. So I wanted all the characters to kind of have that classic feel, to like feel like, hey, this is my love letter to the Marv Wolfman, George Perez run. I want it to look like that. I want it to feel like, I want to tell people like, this run will be like that run, or at least we're going to try to, you know, and that was the hope. It didn't quite turn out that way, but you know, I think. A lot of these looks that I established for these characters are still around, so it means that hey, it obviously resonates with people and they want to keep it. So
they are action figures now.
Yeah, which is kind of cool, right? Yeah. So
you got this one, for example, the Damian Wayne.
Damian Wayne, yeah.
It's the action figure.
Yeah, it's a McFarlane toy action figure, which is kind of nice. So. I think the only one that hasn't been turned into an action figure yet is Raven. I think my Raven has not been turned into an action figure yet.
Yeah, I think it's one of the few.
Yes.
And Bunker. One character I really loved from the New 52 that if I had to say one character from the New 52 run. It would be a Bunker because it was an awesome character.
Yeah, I agree. I love the redesign I did on Bunker. It made more sense to me to kind of armor him up a little bit and have a much more kind of cooler, more streamlined look instead of just like he looks so like thrown together, like
Yeah,
and
indeed.
like let's make him look pretty dope, little epic. I even redesigned not Supergirl, but Wonder Girl, but we ended up not using her at all either. And there was Ms. Martian, we did a redesign for. Blue Beetle, we did a redesign for, but
Speedy also.
yeah, and Speedy with a female Speedy, but those never made it into the book. I think she did later.
Later in the Adam Glass run.
Yeah, and Miko. So they brought a Miko in.
And Powerhouse, that I think it wasn't in the team at first.
Adam Glass edition, but I wasn't too big of a fan of that run. I think for me, like, I'm still kind of married to like what Teen Titans could have been under our run. I'm like, that should have been the run. That should have been like, hey, we could have done so many. Honestly, if we could have gotten the run where like the Damian Wayne that's leading the Teen Titans is actually a clone, and the original Damian is actually the Red X, would have been so much cooler. But yeah.
Well, part of the story that you're talking about, it's what they are doing now in Infinite Frontier, when they are using Red X as a mysterious character that it's in the Teen Titans Academy.
Yeah, I think it's Billy Batson. Oh, spoilers! I think it's Billy Batson. So it might be.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I think it is. Especially since it disappears when the Shazam series comes up. So maybe it's that.
Maybe we'll see. So,
here's some artwork comparison from the pencils, and you work on. Do you work on pencils or digital only?
So I do traditional. But when I scan it in, I digitally ink it. So I get a rate on top of it because I need the money. So, very much in comics, it's mucho trabajo, poco dinero. So you're always trying to like make more, right? You always want to make more if you can. So
you draw and you print it in blue lines and then ink it.
Or I ink it digitally. Yeah, I used to ink it in Blue Line, but now I just digitally ink it. I take the pencils and I scan it in, and then I ink it in computer, which is nice because then it's faster. And if I make mistakes, it's okay. I can just redo it. It's like, it's kind of it's so surreal looking at old Teen Titans, where I haven't looked at that in about like 2 years. So. Because the stuff, I think the work now is like, maybe I want to say 5 or 6 years old. And I think I'm a lot better artist now than I was then. So,
well, if we go, look at this.
Is it coming up? Oh, yes.
Oh.
This is more, this is a little bit more modern takes of my art now that closer to what I'm doing now, where
I love that.
This is a bomb. It's amazing.
I love. Well, this is where it's more pushing more manga influence and trying to do more guys like Jorge Jimenez are a huge influence. His style and movement of character and everything like that has a big impact on me. So,
when I saw your art first. Especially, I saw your art first in Superman, I think.
Yeah.
In the Superman variant covers, and it was like the first thing that comes to my mind. It's Ed McGuinness.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, so Jorge was leaving, doing the covers. So I think my first cover, they said make it very kind of Jorge-ish. I was like, okay, I can do that. But later on, I'm like, Ed McGuinness, I love Ed McGuinness's run on Superman, and I wanted to do more of the chunkier, beefier Superman.
Yeah.
Hey, does it very slim, very like almost athletic, like CrossFit athlete Superman. But Ed McGuinness is more powerlifter Superman, which I like. So Yeah, I made them more.
Oh,
more
look at that.
beefier,
God.
like more. This is all like influenced. These covers, this whole run was influenced by Ed McGuinness. Like Ed was. I have all of Ed's run on Superman, and I was like, yeah, I want to do something like that where it's beefy, thick Superman, where it's just like, hey, I don't want to mess with this guy. This guy could really like, punch a hole in a mountain if you wanted to. So, yeah.
Kyle, show you the covers here. He has the covers in his house.
Oh yeah, I saw them on your IG feed. Oh, there we go. Yes. Yeah, good stuff.
Here's the Teen Titans.
Oh
wow. Yeah, it's so weird looking at old work. It's like, oh wow.
And this one, I really love this one from Young Justice.
Oh yes, yeah, I love
it's
Justice.
great.
Yeah, big fan of Young Justice. I'm glad they brought back the original Superboy, but there's now 2 Superboys in the DC universe. So
yeah.
Connor,
like 4 Robins. Is it 4 Robins? No, it's Tim Drake and Damian Wayne. 2 Robins, right?
Yeah, but Tim, it's called Red Robin.
Yeah.
Red Robin.
No, is it Red Robin or just Robin? I think it's just Robin again. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't keep up.
I stopped reading after Death Metal. So
it's.
I wanted to ask you about something that I ask to cover artists mostly, that it's what do you think about the cover recreations or cover homage or whatever you want to call it?
Think homages, because this Superman cover that you're showing in the middle is a Neil.
Yeah, with the chains.
Yeah, I think done right makes sense. You know what I mean? Like that makes sense because we're ending. I think that was the last issue of the Rebirth run.
Yeah,
It became regular Superman. So
yeah, 45.
We wanted to do something iconic and special for that, so that makes sense. But I think this whole flood of like homage covers everywhere on the market, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just too much. Like I don't really do a lot of homages. But
I'm totally a fool for them, man. I'm totally a fool. I buy them all. I love it. I love the homage, and I love if when I saw your cover recreation from the Neil Adams cover, it was like, please, that one.
It's cool. Like I think for certain issues it's great, but I think if you do it all the time and everyone's doing it now, it kind of loses its luster a little bit for me, because it's just like you do homages for really, really special things, right? But now it's just kind of like everyone does them to sell books, and it's like, like Spider-Man 300, where he's, Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's so many. It kind of loses its meaning and its specialness at that point, because it's just like I saw a Juggernaut one doing that, and I'm just like, that doesn't even make sense. But I'm like, okay, it's so ridiculous. It's cool. I get it. But I think for me, throwing shade at it, like, it's just not my thing. But like, no judgments for anybody who likes it. I mean, I think, this is fandom. We can like what we like, and it's okay. It's no big deal. Like, anybody can like whatever. It's like, cool. It's like, I don't like it. I don't have to buy it. I don't have to pick it up. It's okay. The world will go on. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, of course.
So
how long it takes you to do a cover like this?
I think that one I did pretty fast. It was like maybe 3 or 4 days for the Superman one, because we kind of already knew. It's like, everybody kind of knew. But sometimes for covers, it's generally about a week turnaround for me, maybe. But then sometimes if they want edits, it takes a little longer. But usually everything now goes through committee review, everyone has to sign off on it. Like, yeah, we're good. Yeah, you know, they have to tell you what they want or what they like. You know, so it adds time onto the timeline now. It used to be where I can knock out a cover in a couple of days. Sometimes now it takes up to a week or more. You know, because people have to get eyes on it, get feedback. You know, you send the rough. It takes a couple of days for people to pick what they want, or they say, hey, this, but take this out or move this around or whatever. You know, it's kind of like you're working on product now. You're working on like a bag of potato chips.
Yeah.
Well, because it's a brand. So brands have certain looks and has to be a certain way. And I totally get it. It just means there's a longer timeline on it. So I can't do as many covers per year as I like. You know, usually I can do about 30 covers a year if I want to, but usually I'm lucky if I do 12. So, you know, sometimes it's just kind of how it goes. So yeah.
That sounds like a lot of course.
Well, it's I think it's just kind of like
because a lot of work.
It can be a lot of work. It's the same amount of work. It's just spread over a longer timeline because you have to wait for people to respond. You know.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm juggling like multiple jobs at a time. Sometimes I'm working on 2 covers at once because you're kind of hedging your bets who's going to get back to you first, because the idea is you don't want downtime. You don't want to be waiting for people, you know, to respond to something so you can get your work done and move on to the next one, you know. But I mean, it's a nature of the business. Things are changing and you kind of have to scale with it, you know, if you want to compete, because that's just kind of the nature of things. So, you know, yeah.
You follow some style that they said you have to do this for the character. You have some style guide or something.
Sometimes, because when you're working on a likeness book, like say Brzrkr, they say, you know, it's really important that it kind of looks as close to Keanu as you can get it, you know, because Brzrkr is a Keanu Reeves book. So they're like, you know,
I was gonna speak about later because I'm a huge Keanu Reeves fan.
Oh, he's a huge fan.
Keanu Reeves fan. Especially of your cover, because you totally nail it. You totally nail it.
It was hard, right? It was a lot of work because you're like, okay, well, it's got to look like. So my stuff is generally more cartoonier, but you have to kind of ground it a little bit more, because once you do a likeness, it kind of pulls everything into like, it has to be believable. You know, it has to fit within that realm of believability at that point. You can do fantastic, but you can't do over the top fantastic. You know, even though the character is over the top fantastic, you know, it still has to have some grounded real world elements to it. So, yeah. So when I was doing that, it was just like, it took me so long that I don't do likenesses very well. So it takes me a lot longer to do, because you're just like, I have to get the nose right. You have to do this. You have to do that. You're like, oh. But I mean, it turned out great. I'm glad people liked it. So, yeah. Looks like we got a question there though too. Is a hobby RD? If you had to choose a character to draw from, any superhero character, a real or mythical or fictional person, which one you like to draw and make it part of a comic story? If I had to choose a character to draw from any, it would probably be Batman or Captain America again. I think those are 2 of my favorites. I don't think I would want to do like a Barack Obama comic book or a Dwayne The Rock Johnson comic book, because it's just like, you know, those stories are told, and I know if I do a story like that, there's going to be somebody telling me how to draw it, because they're like, oh, The Rock didn't do it like that. He did it like this. You have to draw like this. And you're just like, I like being able to like do things that, you know, you can use your imagination. You can be a little bit more wild about and have more fun with. So
the eyebrow is so low. The eyebrow is so low.
Right. Higher eyebrow, more eyebrow.
More eyebrow.
He's too skinny. Make him bigger. You're like, come on.
Did you ever thought or cross your mind to work with any character of the TV shows of the 80s?
I think with that, it gets into licensing, and usually with licensing, there's always going to be someone telling you what to do, what you can and can't do. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm like, I'd rather just do my own creator own stuff where I can just do whatever I want. I don't have somebody telling me, no,
Of course.
He has to be bigger. I'm like, no, I can make him as big or skinny as I want. You know what I mean? I can do my own stories and tell my own thing. And I think I'm at that point in my career where I'm actually working on my own creator role and doing that, because that's kind of the next logical step when you work for bigger companies. You know, you get told in a certain sense, not exactly, but you get told, like, you know, they define your sandbox for you. Whereas when you're working on your own thing, you define your sandbox for yourself. And these characters and the story can be as outrageous as you want it to be. So, you know, I want to do stuff that kind of stretch myself as an artist and is a little more exciting for me. I think, you know, I want to do something fun and cool. So I think that's where I'm at in my career now. I think it's much fun as it is to work with other people's characters. I think I would like to be able to do something with my own characters and my own ideas too, and do something to put that out there and see what people think, you know. So.
And what about the stories of your own stories?
Yeah, I'd like to tell
we're going to see some superhero stuff, or more mundane stuff, more like action, like.
I think it's going to be more like a manga. I think the story that I'm working on is going to be more manga, where it's a cross-genre thing. It's going to be a fantasy meets sci-fi story, where it's dragons and laser guns. It's going to be so cool. I hope people like it. Hopefully they don't hate it. They'll be like, oh, this thing's horrible. Go back to drawing Teen Titans. It's like, oh.
No.
We'll see.
You spoke about creative freedom,
yeah.
And it reminds me that I read that when you work with Todd for Spawn, it was kind of that feeling, the creative freedom that Todd gave you with the character. What can you tell us about your work with Todd Mcfarlane that you met on Comic-Con?
Yeah, that was very surreal. It was honestly probably one of the funnest projects I've ever worked on. Was working with Todd Mcfarlane and Paul Jenkins on Spawn. I think the only bad thing about that book was we're always under the gun on deadline for that, because we had a lot of lead time going into it, but it was with another writer, and then that writer ended up parting ways with the book. So we brought in Paul Jenkins last minute, and then we were trying to play catch up ever since. But I'm very proud of those issues. Like, Todd pretty much said I could do whatever I wanted to visually with the character, as long as it's still red Spawn. So I tried to play with a lot of things and tried something different, and I want to add a new wrinkle on the Spawn. So I gave him more of the kind of Venom-esque mouth and tongue and stuff like that. I wanted to.
You gave a sword.
And a sword as well. Yeah, we did a sword. Like, but the sword was a carryover from my previous work with the old writer from Spawn, you know, who was supposed to be on it, but ended up leaving the book. So, but it was an element that I liked and I wanted to keep. So I was like, hey, look, let's keep this. Like, this is cool. So.
I think it was very funny working with that universe, not like.
Yeah, it was. We got to tell actually self-contained stories that it didn't last, of course, but the stories we wanted to do were self-contained stories that lent itself to a bigger story. But you know, the run didn't last. I think Paul and Todd decided to part ways, and you know, soon after I think Paul left, I ended up moving to DC because I got offered Teen Titans, you know, and everyone at DC knew that Batman and Teen Titans were like, you know, if they dingled that in front of me, I would come. So we'll give you this. I'm like, okay, I have to do it. So it was tough though, but Spawn was a very fun project to work on. I'm very proud of those stories. I think some of my favorite stories were probably the first few issues of our run were some of my favorites. I think we had a lot of personal things to say about Spawn and adding something to that layer. And it's kind of interesting because the work we did on Spawn, now Spawn's really blown up now, but that's all because of our work that we did early on that kept snowballing, and Todd took that and grew that into something even more awesome than what we did. So, you know, I'm really happy to be a part of that. And I'm glad to see that Spawn is kind of back on top of the superhero hierarchy again, where like people are starting to pay attention to Spawn again, which is great. Really,
and you came back for a 300 variant of Spawn.
No, I just did one just for fun. I did one as a sketch.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think if Todd asked me to, yeah, I would definitely love to do a cover again. But I think he's got so many superstars on that book. Like he doesn't need someone like me to come in and do a cover because he's got all these other awesome guys. But there is one artist I would love to see do a Spawn cover, which would be Jorge Jimenez. I would love to see Jorge do a Spawn cover, just because I know he would crush it. You know, but I don't think forever. And Simone De Mayo, I'd love to see him do a cover as well. Italian artist who does When We Find Them When We're Dead. He's amazing too. I'd love to see both of those guys do a Spawn cover, just because I'm a huge fan of both of them.
So it was a great experience for you working with those guys. With
yeah,
Todd and Paul, because they give you liberty to do your thing. So.
Yeah, like I think working with Paul in particular, the writer Paul Jenkins, was very liberating because he actually validated, like he said, a lot of my ideas that we would talk about. He said, "Hey, these are great ideas. We should work them into the story." And it kind of validated me as a contributor, like saying, "Hey, as an artist, I have something more to add than just art," which was really nice because I always wanted to be able to have that voice, at least be part of the conversations of where a story should go, you know, as far as what I would like to see in the story and have happen, because I enjoy it, you know.
We know that you're the heart of the thing because you're the drawing, you know all the things, but your ideas are very important too.
Yeah, I think if an artist is invested more into the story, you're going to see better work. You're going to see that artist stay on that for a long time. You're going to see it's when that voice is taken away where the artist is going to, for me, like if I don't really, if I'm not part of that creative process, really, I'm not really interested in doing it, because it's just, as a creator, I'm at this point in my career where I want to kind of make my mark on these characters with the team, you know, at large. I don't want it to be X writers, Teen Titans. I want it to be writer, artist, inker, colorist, team mark on the Teen Titans. I don't want to, you know, that's what I want. I don't want it to be where I'm just some throwaway guy for a writer to shine on. It's like, I'm more very team focused guy. Like, hey, look, like, we're making this together. Let's make the best thing we possibly can. So let's hear it. What are your ideas? What do we got? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go with it? Like, what do you know, I think those are the best stories. When you get a team doing that, I think you're going to get the best out of everybody, in my opinion. But
yeah, there's some examples of what you're telling, and an example that I always mention, it's James Tynion in Detective Comics, that he has a cool script, but it put a lot of text in the pages, and it bonds the liberty of dynamics in the drawings of the artist. So when James Tynion began working with Jorge Jimenez, you could see the Jorge Jimenez draw a figure, and there was all text around the figure, and it was like, man, this guy has an awesome artwork, awesome dynamics, and it's restrained by the script. And when the story goes on, you realize when Jorge gets in the story and change some things with James to work on the dynamics on the story, and that is, I think it's the best thing, and as you said, to move along the story.
Yeah, comics are always and should always be team efforts. You know, everyone contributing their ideas and working together to make a great product. Because if not, it just becomes kind of an ego project where you're working at the behest of this guy. So it doesn't, you know, no one likes to work like that, because then you have, you know, it's no fun. Like telling you, like, you know, the art that you're doing is not serviceable and things like that. Like, you know, as a storyteller and an artist, I would take offense to that. Like, oh, well, you know. But I think when you work together as a team and you communicate, I think there's a whole different dynamic that happens where you can tell things completely change and open up. And it's like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. You get into a rhythm, and then you get excited, and then it just keeps moving. I think that energy and excitement that you put on the page translates. There's a reason why people resonate with Jorge's Batman. It's not just because it's Batman. It's because they can tell the love and passion that Jorge's pouring into his art,
yeah,
and James pouring into his story that is really resonating with people. You know what I mean? It's like, this is something special. This feels good. You really feel like you're getting your money's worth, you know, when you're picking it up. You're like, oh, wow. I would have paid twice this to get this book. So, haha, yes, thank you. It's like, it's great. So, you know, yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah. Like, yeah.
So we're gonna watch some artwork from Marvel Action, where you had the chance to play with Spiderman. I think the second two are not official artwork for the magazine.
No, it's just fan art because I love Spider-Man.
You love Spider-Man?
I love the Spider one. I love it.
Oh, here's the other ones. Do I have a chance to go to El Baño?
Yes,
yeah.
All right, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. You guys keep going. I'll try and right back.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Bueno, vamos a decirle a la gente que estamos pasándola no bien.
¿Qué podemos
bien,
decir, no?
No, la verdad que estamos pasando genial. Y bueno, estamos viendo y recorriendo toda la carrera de Jonboy, que nos está contando todo lo
que ya nos queda poco, que nos queda poquitito, porque nos queda esto de Marvel y ver un poquito el artwork que quedó así, popurrí, inclusive acá el amigo Agus que tiró la data, que puse algo de Flash, puse la cover que me pasó, así que genial, la verdad que estamos pasando de maravilla acá. Mirá, una de las cosas cuando hablé del artista argentino que iba a ser la continuación del Snyder Cut en el Motion Comic, era justamente Mariano Venecia.
Así que bueno, como siempre hay que decir que dejen un buen like, compartan el video y
suscríbanse.
Muy bien.
Sorry, I'm back. Okay, what did I miss?
Yeah, we were just saying thanks to subscribe the channel, leave your like.
The bureaucratic stuff.
The promotion thing.
Pay the bills. Yes, that's cool.
So here are some awesome covers. From Venom.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get them in the Venom books we're starting to receive here in Argentina. We're starting with the Tony Cates series. So I think this is an issue 27 of Venom. So we got like two more books to reach these covers that are beautiful.
Yes, and I love the Venom.
Here's more.
Oh, the Agent Venom and Carnage.
Here's the King in Black. It's awesome. It's amazing.
Yeah, you guys don't like the Donny Cates run. I'm a little sad how it ends, though. I wasn't quite happy with it, but I don't want to spoil it for you guys if you haven't read it yet. So I'll just not say anything.
It's just begun to being published here I think this year
physical
in physical this year. Still. So we're in. I think
last year, the
last
ending
year,
of the last year.
this year, the second volume. That's 6 issues. I think we are in issue number 12.
Oh wow! Okay, you guys have quite a while to catch up to it, but like how that ends, the whole King in Black Venom ends thing, like I was a little disappointed. I'm sad to see Donnie go and Ryan go, but it was such an amazing run. For me, I'm like, I didn't want it to be left like that. So when you guys read it and when you guys catch up and read it, let's talk about it. And you'll let me know what you think. Like you're like yay or nay, like how dare you, So
you know, Jonboy, he's collecting all the stuff. He loves it. He always says, Mario, if you want to do a run of Marvel that they're going here in Argentina, do Venom.
Yeah, Venom is pretty exciting. I think another one that you should be picking up is it's coming out here in the States. It's called Dark Ages. So Tom Taylor and Ivan Cielo is drawing it. It looks amazing. It looks really, really good. I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, and another popular here in Argentina is Immortal Hulk.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about Immortal Hulk. Like, it's more of a creepy horror comic than a superhero comic. So,
he knows, guys. He knows.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So, but Al is a really amazing writer. I worked with him a little bit when I was on Royals, and he has some pretty wacky ideas. But he ties it all together and makes perfect sense. It's just like, wow, left field. That's cool. It's interesting, but I think Immortal Hulk is ending as well. So I think Ryan Otley and I can't remember who else is taking over that book. I think it's Nick Spencer, maybe.
Yeah, I think they are changing with Donny Cates.
Right.
With Donny Cates, they changing places.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, there's not a lot of Marvel titles that I do pick up. I do pick up Venom. I pick up more DC stuff and more indie titles. I think I pick up more indie titles than anything. But like, there's this book called A Nice House on the Lake by James Tynion, and I think it's Alvarado Martinez. I think is his name. I think it's a very good book. It's kind of like a horror. It's like same type of feel as like Something Is Killing the Children and Department of Truth. Same kind of horror genre, mystery, Twilight Zone-ish. I didn't think I'd enjoy the book, but I picked it up on a whim because someone recommended it. And
did you read Moonshine? Read Moonshine?
I have not. So who writes that? Do you know?
Azzarello and Rizzo.
Oh yes, okay, yeah. Like
Rizzo is doing the art, and Brian Azzarello is.
I was a big fan of 100 Bullets, so if it's anything like that, I'll definitely pick it up.
Oh, it's both. It's from both of them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Here in Argentina, I don't know. It was printed, but nowadays it's in Black Label, in DC Black Label.
Right, they collect it for that. Right.
I saw that.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, what am I reading right now? I think Once and Future I'm a fan of. If you ever heard of it, it's from Boom. But that series is ending as well. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself because like all the books that I'm picking up are going to be canceled soon. So well, they're not canceling; they're just ending. The books are ending. So it's like, well, what am I going to do?
Here's some artwork you did.
There we go. So yeah.
Have you read Brzrkr?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I read it.
What do you think of the story?
I love it. It's basically
Keanu doing his best.
Yeah, well, it's kind of. Have you ever seen a movie called Crank with Jason Statham?
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
It's
of
like
course.
it's like Crank, except he'll never die. He can't ever get hurt. Right? He's like a machine. He just like powers through stuff. He's like leaves a swath of destruction behind him. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I enjoy it a lot. Like the idea of an immortal weapon. We've seen these stories before, but I mean the way they're doing it is like you get the sense that he's doing something that he knows that he was born to do, but he hates it.
Yeah.
That's all he knows. So he knows that's his purpose. Like, all right, well, let's just get this over with. Because the reason why I think he goes headlong into things all the time is because he just wants to die. He probably really just wants to die. He's like, maybe this time I'll just die because I'm just tired of this. I'm tired of doing it. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. So
Like, look at that Snake Eyes. It's beautiful.
I love Snake Eyes. Yeah, it's Snake Eyes #1 Dead Game cover. So
how many covers does have Snake Eyes? Like 40, like 26.
I thought it was 30 or 40 covers for that issue. Maybe it was 50. I don't know. It was some crazy amount. I know that. So, but I was just happy I got to do a Snake Eyes cover because I love I love G.I. Joe. So it's like, okay, well.
The first thing I thought when I saw this cover was, oh, I would love to see a Deathstroke series drawn by Jonboy.
I would love Deathstroke is another character that I would love to take a crack at. That I got offered the chance to do a cover for Deathstroke, but I had to turn it down to my work schedule because just the dates weren't matching up. So I was like, I can't do it. Which is sad.
An action and adventure comic book with Deathstroke will be.
Yeah, I like the idea of Deathstroke teaming up with his daughter would be really cool.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Like, you know, Deathstroke Incorporated type thing, you know, where it's the family business and like he's doing adventures with his kids and try to like rebrand him a little bit and not such a creep, you know, like he's a guy with a moral conscience. He takes jobs. You know, I would like to retcon him to where he's not such, a psychopathic, pedophile murderer. I'd like to kind of redo it a little bit because he was a military man with integrity and things like that. So try to tell stories around that, centering that, where maybe he's a mercenary with a conscience type of deal. You know, the complete opposite of what Deadpool is. You know, but
they ask him here about
they ask him.
Let's hear about Deadpool. What about Deadpool?
Yeah, I love Deadpool. Deadpool's great. Like Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. They need to make more movies of Ryan Reynolds being Deadpool.
What about the movies? Do you enjoy? I enjoyed myself the first one. The second one is so.
I liked it. I like them both. I think I can understand why. Like the second one, it kind of felt like you're just throwing too many characters in there because
not the characters. You know, only the ending. Remember when he shot in the end? Oh no, I'm dying. No, I'm a resurrection. No, dying, resurrection. It was awful.
I can understand where like those antics were very thin, but I mean, I think the Deadpool movies are closer to the character is more closer to his comic book version than any other character that's out there. I don't know. There's something about Ryan Reynolds. He's such a likable character. And him playing Deadpool, it just kind of resonates with me. But I mean, I'm a big fan of comic book movies in general. I think some of them kind of missed the mark a little bit because they're aspiring. I think the problem with comic book movies is they should just worry about being its own thing and not trying to compete with others. Because like the moment you take a comic book movie and saying we need to be like Deadpool or we need to be like Guardians of the Galaxy or we need to be like The Boys, then you're kind of missing the point. It's like whatever character you're tackling has its own love and its own genre. So focus on what core precepts are for that character or for that book, and just stick to that and make a cool movie around that. Don't worry about being compared with other movies, because it's kind of like you have to run your own race. Like, Suicide Squad is not exactly Guardians of the Galaxy, but that's what DC wanted to turn it into, which I can understand it can have those same parallels, but they wanted it kind of one for one, and it's kind of like, you're kind of missing the point of what the Suicide Squad is. So, but I mean, if I had $10 billion, I would buy these companies, and then I would do the movies I would want to do. I'm sure people would not like them either. Anyway.
You said you like Ryan Reynolds.
Yes.
What do you think of Green Lantern, the movie?
I like it. It's a very flawed movie. I think they underutilized the characters, because you got Tadakia Wakita in it, and you don't let him do anything funny at all. You just have him some throwaway character. You're just like, oh God. I felt like they rushed things a little bit too quick. Like, I would have probably played Hal Jordan up. I would have taken out the whole Green Lantern Corps completely. I would have said that's at the end of the movie, where he's just some guy who got this ring and he doesn't know how to use it, and he's got to figure out how to use it to save the world, and just leave it at that. There
was too much information, no?
Of course.
Parallax and the other thing.
Well, that's the problem when you're front loading movies. You're trying to front load everyone with too much information, and it's just like, I don't know what to do with all this, because now you have this whole Green Lantern Corps, which I find more interesting than just Green Lantern. So I want that movie instead, The thing about it is, it's just like, you got to deconstruct the character, and you have to start at the character who Hal Jordan. It's not a movie about Green Lantern. It's a movie about Hal Jordan, a guy who finds a ring, a power ring from a dying alien. So that's the story you tell, to where you get the audience to understand who that character is at his core. You let Ryan Reynolds be Ryan Reynolds, but it should have been where he gets this all-powerful ring and he has to figure out how to use it to save the world. There's some big bad trying to steal the ring, instead of making it Parallax, who wants to extinguish the sun. You're just like, come on, man. That's why would you let a rookie Green Lantern handle that? You bring the whole Green Lantern Corps to handle that, right? It'd be like, okay, well, Earth is your planet, so you go save it. Good luck. Parallax wins. It's your fault. Okay, bye. It's kind of like, what? I would have done it to where it is more of just, he's like, thank you, Avi. Like, there you go. Like, he agrees. Thank you. Like, just let him try to figure it out, where he's trying to fight a space villain who's trying to steal the ring as well, or maybe Abin Sur was carrying something, and he was saying, try to keep it safe, Hal Jordan, try to find a way to contact the Corps. And he's like, I don't know. And this, something like that, to where it keeps it grounded on Earth. And it's more about Hal Jordan learning to be the Green Lantern without understanding what the Corps is or anything like that. Because it's kind of a fish out of water at that point. It's kind of, because honestly, like, if you had the Green Lantern ring and they just gave it to you, what would you do? What was the first thing you would do? I know what I would do.
Trying to figure it out.
Dude, I would blow shit up and do stupid stuff, like make cars and race it. And when I ran out of juice, I'd figure out how to recharge it. Like, oh man, because it's kind of like you want to test the limits of what the ring is, but this ring can do anything you want it to do. So with some people, they would just go kind of crazy with it, right? A little bit, right? So
something like that happens in the Kyle Rayner run when he receives the ring. That he begins to fool with the ring, doing the women, the punches, the photos.
Right. Kyle, he's a young guy, right? He's like, well, I gotta find out what this thing does. And he's got
I want to impress my girlfriend. I want to impress my girlfriend with
I make a look at the sweet ride I got. Like, hey, like, do something cool. You would be a little irresponsible until you did something irresponsible where it hurt somebody, and then you would start learning like, oh, okay, I got to be more responsible here. I'm being a jerk. I'm being like, I got to get my stuff together. And then this big bad comes, and you're like, oh man, I really got to get my stuff together. Like, but you see through that process of him learning to use the ring, like messing around with it, he learns how to use the ring by being irresponsible first. Like, oh, I just focus on my will on it. Like, I really have to concentrate to make this thing work. Like, oh, okay, I get it. You know, you kind of like Homer Simpson's his way into figuring things out, you know, through trial and error, through screwing up. You know.
So I was going to ask you if you would like to draw a Green Lantern, and you gave me the pitch. You gave me the pitch because you gave me a Green Lantern, a grounded Green Lantern, more than a space opera Green Lantern.
Yeah, I think he could grow into that. I think, because he could get the costume and all that stuff. He would just put the ring on and boom, there he is. It's like, oh, you know, he's like, how am I going to hide my identity? And all of a sudden, the ring makes him a mask. He's like, oh, this is like, ah. Oh. Then he's just like, just think about it, and it happens. Like, he kind of fumbles into these things, right? And he can fly, he can do all this cool stuff. This is where he starts testing his limits and kind of learning. You kind of, because as he finds out about these powers, you're kind of finding out along with him. I mean, this is why like the Kyle Rayner Green Lantern is so fun, is because that's exactly what happened. He kind of fumbles into things and kind of figures it out on his own. It's like, oh, but you're there along the ride, and there's no one there to help him. His girlfriend.
Now I'm thinking about the movie with Guy Gardner.
Well,
totally dimensional, man.
Well, I think the Green Lantern Corps is going to have Kilowog. You're going to have a lot of characters, but I think Guy Gardner was the first to be cast. So, and Guy Gardner is like the jerk Green Lantern. So let's see what happens. We'll see what happens with all that. So super interesting. Yeah.
And speaking of Green Lantern, we're gonna start finishing the interview with this artwork that you did from and variant cover from Flash, and the other one is an fan art of Flash.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, that piece someone else colored. The original piece that was colored was actually when I was working on Spawn, and they asked me what character I would want to work on. I didn't know they were going to let me work on Teen Titans, but the first thing I said was Flash. So I did that middle piece as a test piece and got it colored. And I said, well, I'd do Flash. They're like, well, we already hired someone for Flash. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not interested. Forget it. That's fine. Then they came back and said, well, we'll give you Teen Titans. I was like, okay, yeah, do that. So always super interesting. But yeah, I love Flash. I love the TV show. I haven't watched it in a long time though. Like it's too soap opera-y now for me. It's too much. Like,
what about the '90s TV series?
Oh, I love the John Wesley Shipp stuff because like we didn't have any shows back then. So honestly, whatever I would take, I'd be like, oh yeah, like whatever. Like it's a comic book character on TV, I'll take it. I don't care how wrong it is, I'll take it. You know. So it was really weird to me though. It was like when I was growing up, like it wasn't really Barry Allen, because when I was growing up, they killed Barry Allen in Crisis, and my Flash growing up was Wally. So yeah.
We have an interesting trivia here in Argentina.
What's that?
When we had here in the 80s or early 90s, I think we have a lot of publications, Superman, Batman, and one of them the Justice League, but Justice League International, not the Justice League. My
Giffen and the Mateis.
Right.
Giffen and the Mateis.
Oh, it's so good. Just
my league. And they do Flash with Wally West from Mike Baron. And we have here in Argentina a magazine.
Gossip magazine.
Gossip magazine called Flash. So the here the editors do another thing. They created Flashman.
Oh, so he's Flash Man.
Flashman.
Flush man
with you. Flashman.
you.
Flush
Flash
Man.
Man.
Oh,
Like flush man.
Like Flashman.
Like flush man.
Flashman. And it was amazing. And that title was so very good. It was great. Mhm.
Flush Man. That's
Yes, there it is. There it is.
that I would love to see. I would love to see if you have a cover from Argentina and Flush Man cover of that. I would love to see that, man. If you
I
guys,
gonna share screen.
do you have it?
Or
Oh,
you,
gosh. Yeah, let's see it.
look at this.
Flashman. And it was very popular. Very popular.
Oh, wow. Because
I love it.
oh man, did you send me a JPEG of that, Kyle? I'm gonna send it to my buddies at DC and like, hey man, did you know that in Argentina he was called Flush Man instead of Flash because there was a magazine out there called Flash, which was a gossip magazine. I'm like,
It's legendary, this story, because it was always called Flushman, and never got the chance to get back to Flash because of the
right,
legal problems of
With the
the
name. With
name. So I gonna send you.
why don't they just call him Speed? Something like that. Acceleration. I don't know, something like what?
Well,
you know, there is some this
and
magazine.
also Kid Flash. It was called Flashito.
That sounds wrong, man.
Flashito.
Machito.
Flashito, like Little Flash.
Little Flash.
Ah, little Flush. Ah, it's so wrong.
You know, and these covers, this magazine, still on sale.
Flush Man.
Flashman, but from these years, no, from now on, from those years.
Oh, wow, that
Flashman.
is
It's such a-
Look at this.
why. God, so horrible. Is he being traced by a turd in this one? Like you're like, what is that? Like a cleaner?
It's Kilgore.
Yeah, I know it's Kilgore, but it looks like a giant turd now in relation
Yeah.
to his name.
And it went to, and was one of the most popular magazines, comic books here in Argentina, with the JLI,
Right.
because they ran 47 issues, and then the editorial decided that it wasn't selling well, so they canceled it.
They flushed the Flush Man.
They flashed the flash.
Vaya con Dios, Flush Man. Vaya con Dios.
So it was all the, and also there was this thing that they did that in the last issues of these magazines that came up. They were presenting the editorial program for the next year, and it was like, go to the newsstand, 0 hour is here, and ask for it, and it never came up. 0 hour never came up. There was the announce on the cover that it was on sale, and never came up. And this year, an Argentina editorial called Omni Press published it the same day that it was supposed to go out in the past. It was May 31st as a homage.
That's funny.
You know, here in this magazine here, it says
I'm gonna put you in first.
it says it's definitely Flushman.
Oh my God. Why?
And this is the cover for the first issue of the Justice League of Europe.
And Flushman's on it.
There's Flushman is on it.
Oh. Well, thank God for Flushman. He'll save us all. He'll run in there and wipe your butt as fast as he can and be gone. You run out of toilet paper and you put on the toilet signal and he comes and saves you and gives you toilet paper.
Here comes the Flushman.
Here comes the Flushman to save the day. You're like, thanks, Flushman. You wipe your butt.
Well, you must say that here in Argentina we have another superhero in the commercial that called Mr. Musculo, Mr. Muscle, who cleans. He helps the maids to this is dirty. Here it is. This detergent.
Mr. Muscle. Is that like Mr. Clean in the US?
Yeah.
Mr. Clean is all here in your kitchen.
Kind of that.
Yeah.
To finish the interview, Jonboy, we don't want to steal you more time.
Oh, no problem.
We wanted to tell us about this Kickstarter that you did on 2019 for your sketchbook and your creator-owned comic book, Princess Dragon Killer.
Yeah. So I had wrapped up my stuff with Marvel, and I was debating what I wanted to do next, and I decided I wanted to start doing my creator-owned thing, and to raise funds for it, I put together a sketchbook called Volume 2. I had a Volume 1 a couple of years before that, so I put together Volume 2 and put it out, and I raised enough money to where I could just work on my book. So that's what I've been doing off and on since 2019, is working on my book. So my creator-owned book, Princess Dragon Killer. I'm super happy to say that Princess Dragon Killer is going to be done very, very soon. I can finally share it with people, put it out. It'll be, I can't wait. So I think any chance any creator gets to put out their own stuff, I definitely recommend. I love crowdfunding because it's a way to just put out work that you love to do and still actually have a budget put together where you can actually do it, So a lot of successful crowdfunds out there. So hopefully when I do my Princess Dragon Killer, put it out, I can do it as a crowdfund and people will support that as well. So fingers crossed, but I'll let you guys know. I'll keep in touch with you guys when it comes out. I'll definitely send you a PDF. Let me know what you think.
Please.
Sure, please.
I would love to get it translated in Espanol, so maybe you guys can help me out with that. So that would be great.
We'd love to. We'd love to. Probably.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it. And I would say to anybody, especially in Argentina, if you love to draw and you want to tell stories, the thing is, put together art. Post it on social media, tell your own stories, do your own comic panels, draw with friends, challenge yourself to get better. Because if you want to work in the comics market, the main thing is you got to create art. So the very easy thing to do is put your art out there, because you never know how you'll get noticed.
Of course.
There are many fine publishers who do comics in South America that I'm sure would love to hire people. And even in North America as well, they're always hiring talent outside the U.S. to do books, because those guys are awesome. So guys and gals, sorry, those people are awesome. So let's cover everybody. But I think if you have a passion to tell stories and to do things, don't let a lack of means or anything like that stop you, because you don't need a computer to do comic books, to create your own comic books. You just need a phone. You can just take pictures of it and scan it in, or upload it to the web or whatever. So any ways to make comics I've done it both ways. I've been doing comics now for over 25 years. And I remember way back when, where we had to do everything by hand. Nothing was done in computer. We just would sit there and draw and try to get everything done, like full size, and do all this stuff. And we had to FedEx pages to inkers to get it inked, and they would scan it in or send it to the publisher, and they would take pictures and then get it done. It was a crazy process back then. So nowadays it's much easier. You guys have better tools, but so there's no excuse for not doing something if you guys are really passionate about doing it. I think pursue it, whether it's a podcast or animation, comics, writing, whatever. Definitely go for it. So
that's a very encouraging message, and
Yes.
we really appreciate, especially I think most of the audience that are artists that will watch this video, this show. It's a hope, a message with a really important and encouraging hope for their work to get to know, to get to be known by others.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah, comics is comics. That's a good thing about comics is we're always a community. Pop culture is a community, and it's good to be able to share your love. I mean, the fact that you guys are doing a podcast and connecting people, other fans together, in some sort of form is great, because it lets people know like there's a place to share your passions and love. You can interact with people. You can talk to pros. Everything's attainable. Nothing's out of your reach. You just have to put something together. Make something. That's what you guys are doing. I think it's great. Just keep it up, man. Super excited to be on. Thank you guys. Kyle, Mario, mucho gusto. I love you guys. Thank you for having me on. I greatly appreciate it. And hopefully we can come back and do this again. So
Yes, of course, sir.
We really appreciate your kindness to speak about everything, Jonboy. I really had an awesome time, a great time. And especially I had a great time meeting you, speaking with you, because I really dig your work. I really like your work. That's why I buy twice a comic book for your covers.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I don't know how expensive are comics there. Like US, are they pretty expensive in Argentina? Or are they?
When I bought this one, it wasn't as expensive as they are now.
Oh, really? They are pretty expensive now. Yes.
Yeah.
How much are they? Like most comics here now, like $4 to $5 US. So I can imagine it's probably quadruple the amount there, probably 4 times as much for you guys. So the fact that you guys are picking up American comics, a little of my comics, I really appreciate that. So, there's a possibility I could talk to my agent. If it's not too expensive to ship stuff to Argentina, maybe we could send you like a care package to you guys to where I can't promise anything. Let me find out how much it's going to cost. But I don't know how much U.S. shipping is to Argentina. But
just if you send us the PDF to us to
no.
I
think it'd be cool if we try to send you guys like some actual copies. Maybe you guys could give away stuff to your fans. We'll send you a couple copies of the same book.
Please, a copy of your cover of Keanu. Or Brzrkr.
Let me talk to my agent. She's the one.
That's for me. That's for me.
No. We want to send stuff not just for you guys, but for fans as well. So that way, that if they talk to you on the show, that maybe you can do a raffle. They can win something. That would be great.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
If we can get some Flashman, we will send you to you.
If you guys could do that, that would be amazing. As long as it's not expensive, because honestly, guys, I don't want you spending your hard-earned money on that. It's great enough that you just send me JPEGs, because then I can troll all my friends at DC, like, hey, check this out, Flashman. Check this out. But I'll talk to my agent, see if we can maybe send some books your way for you guys. Just maybe even a couple, I really appreciate you guys picking up my stuff. I know comics are probably not cheap down there, so maybe we could do something for you guys to kind of return the favor. So
Thank you so much, sir.
So I'd probably just send him to Kyle. Kyle, you would be responsible to sending him to Mario. So I can't do 2 addresses, man. I'm drawing the line, just 1 address. Hopefully, do you guys live close? Are you guys close?
Kind of.
Okay.
Kind of, because if you can do it with the car. Because
okay,
the car is
you
2
guys
hours.
DHL.
You have 2 hours distance.
Yeah, we can send. I can send them the comics.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Bueno. Okay. Perfect. All right. That's a deal.
And if we get some Flushman, we will send you.
If it's not too expensive, if it's expensive, I don't want you guys to do it because it's just like, don't do it. But if it's cheap, then okay, of course. Let's do
For
it.
a start, what I can send you is a digital copy.
Digital fine.
That definitely I gonna send you a digital copy of Flushman.
That's fine. That works for me. That totally works for me. So, but
well, thanks a lot, Jonboy. We really appreciate your kindness and your and it was so cool to talk to you, and you were so easygoing with us that I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. It was fun to talk shop and talk comics. I love talking comics and movies. So thank you again, guys, and you have a great night.
We're going to speak in Spanish and say goodbye.
Yep.
Please don't leave. Bueno, gente, muchísimas gracias. Ya saben, protagonista del cómic número 14. Mes que viene, el 15, vamos a ver qué tenemos. El señor Jonboy Meyers, acá lo tuvimos en el número 14. No sé qué querés decir, Mario. No te vas a...
Terminemos acá.
Ya está. Bueno, we're gonna say goodbye. Goodbye.
Gente, sí, una sola cosa más.
Ya. Mañana.
No. Suscríbanse. Así, grande.
Sí, 2 cositas. Suscríbanse al canal. Dejen su like. Porque después con el sorteo después no quiero ver a la gente que acá no estaba, ¿no? Y mañana en el canal de Justiciero del Fandom tenemos la review de Black Widow. Así que
Flashman.
See you around.